Uno, dos, tres. Hello, I am WM Siegel, and I want to talk about the how the problem of maleness has become the world's problem. And I mean that never should have happened, but the let me go back to what I think is essential step for a boy to become a man. That is be able to admit you're wrong, but also that you don't know. Um, it's one thing to be wrong about something. It's another thing to just not know. Now, when we learn anything, we come to it from a place of not knowing. We have not learned it yet. I used to always say, you gotta humble yourself to a book. Don't be critical of it till you're done. Maybe. But if you can't admit that you're wrong, then you're actually preventing the mechanisms that are essential to learn new things. Learning anything new starts in the mind with the humble admittance that you do not know. It doesn't seem like a big thing, but it is foundational for a person if they're ever going to learn anything new. I can't speak for women, of course. I'm speaking only of men because I know what happens to men when they cannot humble themselves to what they do not know. My whole life, I've worked with men, worked around men. Not all of them seem like bad people, right? But when someone can't admit that they're wrong, it snowballs into the craziest problems, especially in the workplace. When I worked at John Hancock, they would implement things from the top down, and by the time it gets to you, it's so broken, it would never have worked. And then you have to figure out a way to make it work without saying that the person above you was wrong. Because then it's your butt. Because you're calling them out. In a world where you're only seeking truth, it's impossible for this phrase, being called out, to exist. Because you only get called out on something if you're refusing to admit that it's wrong. And you're only refusing to admit it's wrong because you don't want to learn. You don't seek truth. You seek opportunities to appear correct. That is not learning. That's not intelligence. It's not even clever, But it is how a lot of young people are getting through school right now. And it's how a lot of them were when I was in school. It's why the average, 40-something, the critical thinking abilities of people is difficult to address, but it's hard to just say to all of us, hey, we're all dumb. But we have to be humble. We have to admit that we're wrong if we're ever going to learn. And it takes, that's where confidence comes in, right? The confidence to admit you're wrong. Not the ego to perpetuate a lie so that you will ultimately appear correct. All right? There's a difference between confidence and ego. There's a difference when it comes to men. There's a difference between strength and power. Men who are full of fear seek power. Because with that power, they think, quell their fears. It's not how it works. Strength is an attribute of the fearless. Those without fear have the strength to take on all their errors, to see that they were wrong, and to move forward and seek the truth with no personal vested interest, no nothing. Just a human being seeking truth to try to make order out of this chaos. Um, this whole manosphere stuff, and you got these guys 10, 20 years younger than me trying to tell people what a man is. It's crazy, man. Because they've gotten in a grappling fight with someone, or they bought the dip on some shit coin. Oh, sorry, buddy, but if I drop you off in the woods, you're dead in a week. That's not a man. Not at all. You're a clown. You know, can't admit you're wrong about anything. So you just build up these walls of deceit. And you don't know what a man is because your father wasn't one. You know? This country stopped making men. We stopped making humble men willing to seek the truth and be strong enough to never want power. We don't have those men. And the men that think they're men now, they look back to these other people and they say, look, he was a man. I'm just like him. You're nothing like Teddy Roosevelt. Nothing. When he died, he was writing a book about birds. All right? He wrote about natural history, about animals. Is that what politician today that you think is a man is writing a book about birds? Okay? You can knock someone out and be interested in birds. But if you can only knock someone out, you're a child, little boy, and you have no place in public life. Sorry, just don't. It's not to be mean, it's that your ignorance, like a drop of ink in a glass of water, corrupts wholly. Men don't have these benchmarks that they maybe did in the past, rites of passage, things like this. There used to be things like that. There are some degree, fraternal organizations, things, but a lot of those went by the wayside when the hippies decided, on counterculture. And that's fine, but you gotta replace it with something. Because you took away a mechanism that held men accountable to one another. And we're not accountable to one another anymore. We're not sitting across a lodge room together once a month, having to make eye contact, with the guy who said the thing, or voted the way, or did this. There's no accountability. Nobody's calling anyone out. I hear someone say something, believe me, I puff up, and I say something right back. I don't want to hear anything racist around me. It's over. The time is done. There's no jokes to be had. You gotta grow up. You hear a lot of guys like me complain about people getting housing and they're not getting it. Well, you didn't spend the first 20 years of your life in Bangladesh, guy. They talk about, well, they're only paying this much rent, and I'm paying this for rent. The only reason you're complaining about that is because you're an alcoholic, you pissed away all your money, you never wanted to marry your wife, right? She's not your wife. These are the people who use phrases like common law marriage, something that has never existed in Massachusetts. It's the death knell of a drunk loser whose 10-year girlfriend kicked him out of the house. That's what it is. You didn't want to make the commitment 10 years ago, but you want a fair division of assets, of course, don't you? It's all white men. It's all lonely, sad white men making these accusations. Their racism is coming from their coveting. They covet what their neighbor has. You want to pay their rent. You haven't deserved it. You haven't lived that life. You are living the life you deserve. All right. more likely than not, if you are a white man in your 40s. You put yourself there. I put myself here. You know, might look like I have a couple nice things, but I'm skint. But I did it to myself. It's no one else's fault. My neighbors pay less rent than me. Good on you. I mean, why are you happy for someone getting away with it? If it was your buddy, I'm sure you'd be happy for him. You see, there's these men out there that think they're seeing handouts, but what they're really doing is they're coveting what they should have gotten on their own. You had every opportunity, you know. And it's not all your fault. Your father wasn't a man either. More likely than not, you know. He didn't teach you right and wrong. He didn't tell you that women and children always come first, because they are literally the future. We are temporary blips. We impregnate, you know, and we defend. But at their behest, not at our insistence. This is all stuff that regular men are supposed to be told growing up. Things I was told to a degree, but I had to really seek things out. I was in Boy Scouts growing up. You know, I'm lucky. I don't know. I really wanted to be a good person. And I don't know that I am, but I'm trying every day. And I'll never stop. Nothing is going to stop me from looking for truth and from humbling myself. So, you get this idea that, you know, to be a man, you must go through these processes. You must understand your place. We have leaders now that never went through those processes. And this has been going on forever, but now it's very dangerous, because they're never going to admit they're wrong about anything, which means that they are truly incapable of learning. If you live your life that way for too long, you break. You know, neural pathways get established. There's only so much you can change in this world. If you're over 40 and that's your approach, you have a learning disability. You have a self-imposed learning disability. And you have no business in public office whatsoever. You're incapable of just philosophical thought experiment. You can't put yourself in the wrong. You can't prove yourself wrong. Your ego won't allow you to do that, because you have no self-confidence, because you're terrified of being wrong. I see this all the time in life. Older men watching someone work on something and just letting them do it the wrong way, because they know if they come in with what they think, they say, no, I think it's supposed to be this way. If that doesn't work, oh, I was wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I break things all the time. That's how I learn. If I'm working on something and somebody's watching me work, this is annoying, and I do it wrong, and oil comes flying in my face or whatever, my first reaction is to laugh. I laugh all the time. I had a friend when I was a kid, his mom said I was going to live to be 100 because all I did was laugh. I love laughing at myself. If you can't laugh at yourself, you're never going to be a man. Never. You can't even have a concept of masculinity, because you can't see when it's wrong. You can't see when you fail. There's a lot of cowards, a lot of fearful cowards looking for power. And their first targets are always the vulnerable, the exact people that they're supposed to be protecting. You know, the very people that you exist to protect and to give them a safe passage into the future, that's who you turn on. If that's what's going on, you're not a man. You're not. You're a boy. And if you're in your 30s, you're especially kind of stupid if you voted for Trump, because all you're doing is trying to get the approval of your father, who is also not a man. This is tough stuff to hear. It's true. 100%. I live in a city. I have not met many men here. I'll tell you that. Met a lot of boys. And not all the boys are bad, but they are when they open their mouths. They have opinions, and they just mockingbird some crap their dad or grandfather said. You know, these are just sad people who have made themselves developmentally disabled, incapable of learning. They also don't take care of their bodies. I consider that to be important. J.D. Vance doesn't have shoulder muscles. Next time you see a picture of him. He's younger than me. Okay. That face is just salt. Salt, sugar, alcohol. You cannot take care of yourself. You look so unhealthy. It gives me gas just looking at your body, man. If you can't take care of yourself, I don't know what you're doing with kids. I know you don't raise them. They're your wife's kids, as you've made clear. But you have no right to be elected to anything. If you've written one book in your life, and it is about yourself, you have nothing to say. There's no intellect. You went to Yale Law School. I expect more from you. I mean, I don't. I know people that went to Yale. They're all just cokeheads. You know, they haven't done shit. But we're supposed to expect something from you, right? You went to Yale. No, you didn't. You were there. You wrote a few papers. It ain't hard, buddy. He has no qualifications. None whatsoever. You know, you just have to look at a man, doesn't know how to feed himself, doesn't know how to get out of bed in the morning, can't touch his toes. If you can't touch your toes, and there's not a real good reason for it, go inside and don't leave your house until you can, because you're of no use to me at all. Garbage. So you got these people that they're fully qualified in what we are looking for, right? All the things are checked, but they're falling apart at the seams. RFK Jr. is a nightmare. Look at his body. Look at his face. That is drug abuse and alcoholism. And if he is not abusing alcohol anymore, he would not look like that. I looked very different 5 years ago than I do now. I'm 44. I'm older than the vice president. You don't look like this. And all that fat in your face, I'm sure there's a lot of it in your brain. You know, these are knuckleheads. They truly are. And it's unfortunate that any man has rallied behind these people. But it's because people are afraid to be associated with this, that, the other. You don't have to be for something to be against something, you know? You gotta just look at these people and mock them. Because they are insecure, they're clowns, they're full of fear. You know, Trump, obviously that jackass. Again, you can't take care of your body. I can't respect you. And I cannot expect you to, you know, if you're the commander-in-chief of the military, yeah, I hope you can run a mile, man. You know, we're not making men anymore, and we gotta call people out on it. You know, this idea of maleness, this manosphere nonsense. Every single one of them complete and utter jackasses. You know, there isn't a closet big enough for all of them to hide in. That's for certain. But hopefully we make enough jails. But you know, the idea that just the male population could get bullied into this completely ignorant, stupid, I don't know, team that's been established proves to me that that there aren't any men. There just aren't. I don't know where they are. They're not. They didn't raise their sons. That's for certain. And whoever has a child now, if you have a boy, I don't know that you're gonna know what to do, right? But number one important thing is that before 12 years old, that little boy learns to laugh at himself when he is wrong. It'll go a long way, believe me, because so many of our problems right now come from the inability of an individual to laugh at themselves and to dissipate that fear of being found out as not knowing. Be the person first in line saying, I don't know. I'm going to be the first to learn this thing. It's such a fine line. Strength, power, fear, fearlessness. Because someone can go through a whole life and we look at them and we say, wow, what a masculine person. No. They're a scared little boy who has pushed everything away from them. They're an aggressive person, sure. I mean, aggression is not a male attribute. Not at all. It's got nothing to do with being a man. This has all become the problem of the world now. It's terrifying. In America, they've got a little time left, till the next election. I mean, not a little, you gotta wait pretty much a whole presidency, but if you, for a split second, look at someone like J.D. Vance and see a man, you do not know what a man is. A man would never write a book about himself. First. Your very first book. I mean, to be honest, why would you write a book about yourself? Awful. Maybe. I don't know. But your very first book. It's just a masturbatory worship of yourself. I didn't read it. Why would I? But it says something about someone. He didn't say I have something to teach. This is about me. God, it's really pathetic. My family's been in this country for like 400 years. And I think every single person, but they were dairy farmers for 300 of those years. Very quiet, interesting people, Every single one of them would look at any elected male official today and just probably leave. The soft hands that sign these bills, And they would say, I was in the military, I don't know, man. That has to stop being some qualification for maleness, because I know a lot of people that were in the military that are just absolute fucking losers. So the days are done where that's some kind of qualification. It's just over, It's stupid. So we got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of calling out to do. Like a lot of this falls on women, unfortunately. You just gotta leave the guy, because you're gonna go insane. and it's going to crack at some point. There's not a single person who voted for Trump that in this most recent election who is well in the head and who thinks about you and your child first thing in the morning. That's just not what they think about. They don't care about you. They can't, because if they were attracted to these people, it is because they share with those people the fear, terrifying, crippling fear of being proved wrong. When you could just be brave enough to laugh at yourself and say you were wrong. Nobody's staying with you because you support Trump. And it's on men too. We have to call each other out. You know, you hear someone say something racist, turn on them, you say, shut the fuck up. And then they start coming at you, you say, start over. They won't, they'll just leave. They're cowards, all of them. And if they do fight you, I don't know, have fun. You have to call each other out. It's going to get real messy. It's going to get real messy. It's going to absolutely get real messy. Because 50% of this country needs to be sat down and yelled at like they were little baby boys. And that is going to happen. Believe me, I do it every chance I get. And you need to be doing it too. Not because you're for some other thing, but because you are against people with self-induced learning disabilities. You're against them having their hand on a button, or them having the ability to impact anyone's life. They can't learn. That's a problem. That's a real problem. Because it means nothing new is ever coming. Nothing new comes from that which does not learn. Right? So, our male problem has become the world's problem. But it's not too late. It's never too late. If it was, I'd be in the woods. You gotta call people out when you see them. You know, see a Trump flag. You know, you don't flip them off. You just kind of laugh. You're like, you gotta be dismissive of these people because they're chumps. They're losers. Every last one of them. You know, you just gotta be dismissive. You gotta shun. Call them out. Make fun of them. They're losers. You know? I know it sounds like bullying, but I don't care. So, go bully a Trumpy. Peace.